Greetings, Voyagers. Well, I have a disturbing story that I think you should know. As a van dweller, it involves personal safety and personal conflict with others, so if these kind of topics make you uncomfortable, then change the channel. But this is a story I think people should know. A couple nights ago, I was driving down the street. I signaled to make a left turn into a gas station. So I pulled in, and the van was completely in the parking lot, completely cleared the sidewalk, and I hear somebody beeping their horn. I'm thinking, what the heck? And just at that moment, a white car pulls up in front of me and stops and blocks my path. I couldn't move forward, and this guy jumps out completely enraged. And he comes running up to my van, screaming at me, "You cut me off, you blah, 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 blah." I didn't cut anybody off. I didn't even see this guy. He came out of totally nowhere. So he runs up, screaming, and he grabs my door and opened it. He was about to put his hands on me and cause me harm. Fortunately, I carry pepper spray. This is the one I've had for some time, a few years. This is one I just bought. I am now keeping one on each side, one for myself, one for my son, on each side of the dashboard. I also have one on my hip in a holster. And my son has one on his hip in a holster. So, and I had this thing, it wasn't Velcroed right then, I just did that yesterday. It was sitting here in the cup holder. And I don't know why. I hadn't been carrying it for a long time. I don't know, maybe I got complacent. Maybe I just felt like everything was cool. I don't know why, I just hadn't been carrying it. And I would make a mental note to myself, I need to keep carrying my pepper spray more. But I didn't. It was just sitting there, just going through life, enjoying myself and not thinking about anything. But for some reason, and I do believe in premonition, from personal experience, I do believe in premonition. But for the last couple of weeks, I've been saying to myself, I really need to carry this pepper spray. I'm afraid something's going to happen. And it could be anything. I mean, it could be something like a traffic accident or something like that, road rage. Or it could be a dog off the leash that wants to attack me or jump up on me or whatever. But I just had this nagging fear that I should be carrying it, so I did. I started carrying it again, and thank God I did. This guy came charging up, pulled open my door, and I already had the thing in my hand, and I got him right in the face. And that's what you're supposed to do. Spray for the eyes, shoot for the eyes, and do a side-to-side motion. And it stopped him long enough for him to turn his head, but he was so full of rage that he turned back and tried to come at me again, so I got him a second time. And that made him back off. And then I got him a third and a fourth time right in the face, because I wanted to make sure this guy wasn't going to come back for a third try. And that stopped him. I mean, it's amazing how well this stuff works. And when I left there, this guy's standing there choking and gagging, rubbing his eyes. And he's yelling at me, "I'm calling the police." The perpetrator is calling the police. So I yelled back, "Go ahead. How do you like me now, a-hole?" And then I drove off. And that was the end of that incident. But I'm telling you, he is the second person I've had to pepper spray in the last 5 years. The first one was an incident with a dog off the leash, and the dog jumped up on me, so I sprayed it. And the guy didn't like that, so I sprayed him. He was coming at me, but nobody's dog has the right to run up and jump on me. Nobody's dog. And it was a town where there's a leash law. The dog was off the leash, and it was a big dog. And I've had problems with big dogs in that when we were in the ghetto, okay, and I had to pepper spray dogs. I've pepper sprayed a couple of dogs. So let's talk a little bit about pepper spray. There's a couple of kinds, generally. There is the spray, like the bear spray, and then there's the gel. I recommend the gel. You can't buy bear spray in Massachusetts. I had to buy it in New Hampshire. But I was going out into the woods. I was going up to my place in Maine, and there have been reports of bears. I've seen bear tracks in my driveway up there, so I figured, well, I'm going to be up there for a few days. I better get some bear spray. So I had this can of bear spray. I stopped in New Hampshire on my way up to get it. You can't, like I said, you can't get that bear spray. It's twice the potency of the human pepper spray, which we are allowed to have in Massachusetts. If you're 18, you can purchase pepper spray in Massachusetts. It didn't used to be that way. It's only in the last 4 or 5 years or so that they changed the law. You never used to be able to get pepper spray in Massachusetts, but now you can. So that was a pretty scary incident. But I would recommend the gel because the spray, it sprays out like in a cone shape, and it goes wide, and it'll splash back on you, and you don't want that. So get the gel. It doesn't splash. It's a sticky gel. Whatever it hits, it sticks to, and it doesn't splash back. So I would recommend the gel. So yeah, we're well armed now. But and then this one that I have on my hip, I just got it yesterday. And I was just putting it back in my holster just like a half an hour ago, and I accidentally hit the trigger and it sprayed. I thought the woman was selling me the exact same stuff I had before. I had the gel. I showed her the can. I said, I need another can of this. She gave me that. And it's a spray, not a gel. And it only sprayed for like half a second. And instantly, the smell, the fumes from it drove us out of the van. I had to open all the doors and wait for a while before I could go back in with some paper towels and some Windex. And I found where I got the wall. I hit the wall with the spray. And I had to decontaminate. And then you have to decontaminate yourself because it sticks to your skin. And, you know, I washed my hands, and then I used wipes to wipe my fingers down, and I was just brushing my teeth, and I got my fingers on my lips, and my lips started to burn. So this stuff is tough to get off. If you get any on yourself, you're going to require some decontamination. But I'm 68 years old. I am not about to get into a physical confrontation with somebody, anybody, and I don't care how old they are. I'm not getting into a physical confrontation with anybody. I'm pretty good at sensing trouble before it develops, and I could see this guy coming right away. So I had my hand on that pepper spray. As soon as he got out of the car and started coming toward me, I had that pepper spray in my hand, and I was able to neutralize that situation. But you know that there are people out there who are on drugs, dangerous, powerful drugs, PCP, cocaine, methamphetamine, flakka, and God knows what else. There are plenty of stories from the police about how somebody who was so high on one of those kind of drugs that a couple of bullets wouldn't stop them. They kept coming. And it's the adrenaline. It's the adrenaline. I mean, we heard plenty of stories of soldiers in combat who themselves are mortally wounded, but they keep fighting. And it's that adrenaline. It's hard to conquer. And it's hard to control sometimes, too. So, in this instance, I was able to get away, which I did. I wasn't about to continue that confrontation. I stopped the guy. I stopped him, and he was standing there choking and gagging and screaming at me, rubbing his eyes. He wasn't going to come back for a third or fourth time. So I took off. I got the hell out of there. But you know, like I say, there are going to be people out there who won't stop. And it may come down to having to go beyond pepper spray. And God help us if it comes to that. But I can imagine a situation, if we're out boondogging out in the remote wilderness somewhere, and somebody's causing trouble, and they might be high on drugs or whatever, and the pepper spray won't stop them completely. And I would be afraid that even though I might be able to jump in my van and take off, he might be able to jump back into his vehicle and come after me, and he may have a gun in his vehicle. These things are so difficult to know how to handle. It's an assessment you have to make in the heat of the moment. And I'm not going to tell you how. That's a decision you would have to make. All I'm going to say is that it's impossible for someone to come chasing after you if they can't walk. So, my thoughts, feelings about pepper spray. I recommend everybody carry it. Get the gel. Get the bear spray if you're worried about bears, because it can be effective. But for humans, I would get the gel. Always carry it with you. I just heard a news report the other day that Americans are feeling more stressed than they have in over a decade. And we can see what that leads to. I hope this helps. Sorry if it made anybody feel uncomfortable, but these are life and death struggles sometimes. These are the situations we confront when we're living in a van. At least I've had to. I hope nobody else has to. But there are crazy people out there so full of rage that they are blinded by it. Well, then they end up getting blinded by pepper spray. I can't wait to get out of the city. I love living here in Salem. It's a beautiful city, but I've been here and not able to go anywhere because of my poverty for so long, and when we were in the ghetto for 6 years. I need to get out into the wilderness. I need to get out into nature, away from all this, and find some peace, some solitude in a natural environment. I can connect with my God. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends, and share, because sharing is caring. Peace and out.